I mean, it depends on sometimes depends on the height of the guy sailing the boat. They have to be in a spot you can see them. You know, they have to be in a spot you can see them. And if you're a guy with long legs and you hike a lot, you can see all the way up probably. If you're kind of inclined to sit in the boat and not hike a lot.
Those are the only ones I can see.
You need the ones down, you know, only this high up or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But they become your guide. You get to know what those ones are react like. Now, how close to the luff is sometimes important, because you don't want to have them this far back in the luff, because they'll be too sensitive to changes, and you don't want them way back in the middle of the sail, or you won't see anything. I mean, telltales. It was a Canadian guy that invented those. When I was a kid, not that long ago, quite a long time ago, but there was no such thing as telltales, and we used to just have to watch the luff of the sail and see it when it backwinded a little bit. Now, sails are not as stiff as they are today, but you just kind of watch the sail with backwind, and then you'd go down a bit, and then you'd watch it backwind and go down a bit. And a guy that worked for de Havilland, an aircraft engineer guy, a guy called Buller, who designed a bunch of NS-14s. They used to put these ribbons on wings of airplanes, to on models and stuff, and the airflow and all that stuff, to see the flow over the wings, stuff like that. And he thought, I want to have work on a sail, and he's put them on the left of the jib. He's a guy, Toronto de Havilland aircraft guy, that actually invented telltales back in the 50s, I guess. But so the location of them, you want them, I don't know what, 15% back from the luff or someplace, kind of where the curve of the sail comes around. We generally Abercrombie put them, I think we put them about 6 inches back from the luff. And sometimes on the lower telltales you might have a couple in a row, So one a little close to the luff, one in the normal spot, and one a little bit further back. Then you kind of get an idea that the forward one is going to lift obviously a bit earlier than the next one back. When he's going 15 or more, you probably, most boats, most crews, you're probably overpowered. You can't hike the boat flat. Hiking stars, you can't hike it flat. If you keep the main in, you're just going to be heeled over, wiping out, taking water, going sideways, whatever. So you've got to ease the main, let the top spill, and it's going to luff. But the key is to go fast. Keep the boat going as fast as you can. You only get in trouble in a boat when you slow down. Like you tip over, you always tip over when you slow down. It's a tack, a bad tack, or it's a jibe, or a mark set, or a mark round. I mean, somebody's tip over going downwind fast too. But generally, when you lose speed, you kind of can't control the boat anymore, and your rudder's not working anymore, and that's where you kind of get blown over. So you have to keep the boat going fast, and it's a lot of work. I mean, the helmsman's got to be on that main all the time, in and out, in and out. And as soon as you get a little lull, main comes in, boat points up, keep the speed on, big puff comes, put the bow down, ease the main sheet, blast through it, next one comes back up you go. So, yeah, when you see the guys laughing the mainsail, it's just getting rid of power before they tip or whatever.
What about spreader deflection? How does that affect power and the sails?
Well, the length of the spreaders and the angle of the spreaders will certainly affect your mast band, and so the more swept back your spreaders are, the more, when they're loaded up, the more they push forward and will bend the mast. If you swing them back more, if you kick your spreaders forward further, your mast will be stiffer. And that depends maybe on the weight of your guys, the cut of your sails, the stiff of your mast. Probably kept the spreaders farther forward. Now, I'll tell you another thing, none of these masts are going to be the same. If you took the raw tubes and tried to, put them on a sawhorse and put a 20-pound weight in the middle and tried to measure the deflection, or 30, 40-pound weight, they'll all be all over the map. I mean, they're all the same mast building stuff, but the amount of nickel in the alloy and a million little things that go into making the aluminum. You guys have worked in these masts, you probably drilled holes in them. You'll find one that's soft as butter, the next one's like, wow, it's hard to drill. Just more nickel and stuff. So without getting all crazy, the same tuning on one mast isn't necessarily the same tuning for the next mast to get the same stiffness. And if you really, really were into it, you would customize the tuning for your own spar. I think the top guys do. There's a tuning guide. It's kind of a rough guide. It's okay for 99% of the people, but to get the real nitty-gritty, you have to kind of really look at your own mast and your own weight and your own sails and set the rig up. Then you can lengthen your spreaders too, right? Does everybody say full length or short, max length, or
different, I think.
everybody's different? Yeah. And that also has an effect on how stiff your mast is going to set up. But that's probably more than most people even care about. But, you know.
Are you still publishing the tuning guide for the?
We still have the same one. It's more or less the same. We'll probably work on another one. You know, now we're sort of more into the radio sail a little bit, see how that goes. But I think the tuning guide we have is pretty good. You know, it's a guide, and for so many of the boats, 80, 90, 95% of the boats, it's absolutely fine. It's the top 4 or 5% where, you know, they want to squeeze a little bit more, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you go the wrong way. I've done it so many times. You know, I'm going to stiffen my mast up a bit, I'm going to do this and that, and it doesn't work. Oops. Back to where I did it last year was faster. So I would kind of stick with the tuning guides if they, yeah.
What shape you're looking for in the mainsail when going upwind, let's say 10 knots, and is that very different from when you're going to reach, and what the shape would look like?
Well, upwind you generally want the sail to be a little bit flatter, right? And the leach quite straight, and the top open a bit. So you have your outhaul basically out to the max. You, depending on the wind strength, you have some bang on to bend the mast to make the sail, you know, instead of this shape, you want the sail more this shape,
Upwind.
upwind. Okay, so you bend the mast forward, so this pulls forward to here, so you get that more of a shape. So you're looking for that kind of thing. Downwind, not so much downwind, but especially reaching.
Yeah.
Okay, reaching, you want then your mainsail to be deeper and more product. So you're going to take some of that mast bend out. This shape's not bad when you're reaching. You want to ease your outhaul a little bit to get the bottom of the sail deeper. You know, as soon as your boom kind of gets out, you know, a couple of feet off the corner of the transom, you're looking for as much depth as you can and as much flow as you can. When you go upwind, it's a much flatter shape. And how much flatter? You know, I can give you numbers, but it wouldn't make sense. But
the top guys talk about twist.
well, twist is the top, and you do want the say your boom's on center line. Okay, you're trying to get the boom on center line with your thing. So the bottom of the sail has to be reasonably flat, because you know, there's your mast and here's your center of your transom. The sail, it's coming out here. It's coming back here. So the back half of the sail is actually pushing you backwards if it's too full, because you know the cord here is backwards. So you need the sail to be quite flat down low, so it's not, you know, it's just doing nothing for it. It's overpowering. The top of the sail, from the top half up, the leech is actually, if you stood behind the boat, the middle batten is probably that far to leeward, of the center line of the boat. Then that's twist. The boom is on the center. The middle of the sail is quite out there below the center, and the top batten quite out there below the center. Okay, if you're looking straight from behind the boat. So that's where you can have lots of power, because that top batten, you've everything top batten parallel to the boom kind of deal. The top of the sail is, because it's so far below the center line of the boat, it doesn't hook in. So this is where you get your power up top of the sail. That's where, you know, that from the top half of the sail, that's where you get all the drive and the power and the shape out of a mainsail. And this amount here, this distance, is what I call twist. Other people call twist different things, but for me, that's the twist. And that comes with fullness in the sail. In a way, the fuller the sail, the more twist it's going to have, the more off the center line it's going to get. Well, you probably take some pictures of that with your camera and show the twist. You can see it definitely from behind the boat. Mm-hmm. Kind of how far the top two battens sit below the center of the boat. Yeah.
John, the other string I don't know what it does is the leech line on the main. I don't think any of us touch it, and I don't know. But what do we need to know about that string?
Nothing. I'll just organize to have them taken out. Save us a
that
couple
one
of
off
bucks.
too?
No, that's when the cell gets older. It'll start fluttering. It could start fluttering between the battens when the cell gets a bit older, and it flutters a bit.
So
and
you
just
cinch it up
tweak
then.
the leash line up to get rid of it. But
What about if you're having trouble with a hook in your sail in low winds? You've reefed on your pre-bend, you've gone through everything you can. If you loosen off that leech line, will that help?
well, the leech line shouldn't be tensioned at all. I mean, I would, if you think if the leech looks like it's curling a bit, I would uncleat the leech line and then push down really hard on the boom and like stretch that leech and make sure that leech line is stretched right out. And then it shouldn't be
So its
factor.
real purpose is to sort of rehabilitate. To come
Exactly.
into the
If it's
back
an
of
older
the
cell starts to
cell
flutter,
site.
you can take the leash line up and stop it fluttering. Fluttering can be annoying, and it also can. Once it starts to flutter, it'll get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So you just stop it.
That's a good segue into another question, and this is probably my last question
Yeah.
for today, which is we talk about like a sail being blown out. I look at a sail, I go, well, it's a sail. How do I know a sail is blown out other than it doesn't, crinkle when I roll it? And what can you do? I mean, I've heard of sail coat and stuff you can spray it with.
No, once the shape is gone. Once the sail is, the shape is gone. It's pretty much gone. I mean, I know these guys have this starch stuff they put on, so it starts to
Well, what's happening when a sail's blowing out? Are the seams loosening? Is the
No,
fabric loosening?
it's just the jibs particularly. They get beat up in the back when you tack, right? So you see your jib, the front part of the sail, all this is all fine. It all looks like new. Back here, you can see how kind of abused it is. Because this beats on the rig every time you tack. It just goes bang, 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 across the mast, across the shrouds. And every time you tack, this right across here takes a beating. And what eventually happens when you feel it's getting softer here than it is there, is the filler that's on there gets a bit beat off, and then the yarns will start to separate a bit. It's worked pretty tightly, but it's like an old suit or whatever. It just kind of the weave loosens up, and the shape starts to disintegrate. I mean, the shape is cut and designed in the sail just isn't there anymore. And the same with the mains. I mean, when they flog and whatever. I mean, that's basically what happens. And I mean, in the jib, it starts down here to disintegrate first, and then. But I mean, how many seats do you get out of suit sails? I guess it depends on how much you use them, how much wind you sail in, how well you treat the sails, if you're careful with them. The worst thing you can do is flog sails. Sit there, that's the worst.
Do you have different weights of cloth for albacore sails?
We've been using this weight for a while.
But
There
does
are.
anybody say like a heavier or a lighter or a...
Heavier doesn't really work. I've tried it before thinking it would last longer. It doesn't. Especially when you use the tempered cloth. It cracks and gets beat up just as bad. In fact, it almost might be worse because it's heavier, so when it does beat you around, it just has more momentum when it crashes into things.
And what weight is this? 170 or...
It's 165. It's basically 165 grams per square meter, which is around 3.5 ounce. 3.2 ounce, something like that. Which is
the advantage to changing to Mylar sails?
God, we had a hard time just in class to change the window size. I mean, are you kidding me? That was a major deal. It's a window, for God's sake. Who cares if we don't see through it? But I don't know. When the next 3 generations die off of measures, maybe you'll get it. I honestly think that Mylar says would.
Do they last longer? I mean, if it can be proven that it's an advantage to the entire class.
I'll say they won't last any less. They'll last at least as long. Maybe longer. I don't know if they'll last longer or not, but I'd say they'll last at least as long. Now, there's a lot of Mylar that's pretty crappy, and there's some that's pretty good. I mean, the stuff you see on the Hobie Cats and all those things is just crappy stuff. I mean, it's cheap stuff.